estriol, which is similar to what should be in a woman's body when she's younger. Okay? We have ratios that go 90 and full 100% of estriol. Progesterone. Progesterone is my best hormone. It is the best hormone. It's the one I have the most fun with. Progesterone is what almost everybody, all the women need. PMS, no such thing. Ooh. Go ahead, give it back to me, yell at me, tell me that you've never been through PMS. Of course you say PMS, no such thing. I say there's no such thing as PMS. There's only PDS, progesterone deficiency syndrome. PMS gives you bloating, progesterone takes care of the bloating. PMS gives you headaches, progesterone takes care of the headaches. PMS gives you irritability, put on the progesterone, it calms you down. Progesterone binds with the same binding sites, the GABA receptors in the brain, that Valium does. So let me ask you something. If you know somebody and they're taking Valium all the time and they're sitting there like this, you say, oh, okay, life is all right, everything is great, and they're nice and calm. Everything is calm. Oh, look, the house is on fire. Everything is nice and calm, and then you take the Valium away from that person. How are they going to be? Don't look at me that way. Don't do it. Oh, always constantly on their nerves, always constantly upset. Why? Irritable, to say the least. Well, you have natural progesterone that's being made. Remember those eggs? Okay? They were making a certain amount of progesterone for a certain amount of estrogen. Well, now they're not making anymore. Remember, the volunteers are gone. Okay? You got the low end, the low of the barrel of the volunteers. Not enough progesterone. How is that person going to be? Guys, you must be sensitive. Okay? The women need our help here. Women will have, it's just as if I told you, if a person that was on Valium and is no longer on it and they take it away, they're going through withdrawals, the withdrawals of progesterone. We must be sensitive to their needs. Progesterone is an incredible hormone. I give this story about my wife, and she's telling me, speak up. So, sorry guys, I'm going to yell at you guys in the front. I tell this story about my wife. One day, I'm over by the refrigerator and I open the door and she comes in, and when I'm there by the refrigerator, she can't get through because of my small demeanor. And she comes up and she says to me, I'm going for the Hershey bar. Earlier that year, we had bought this huge Hershey bar for one of my kids, and we just left it there. It's pretty much like a plaque, And she goes, I'm opening the Hershey bar. I said, honey, you don't want to open it. No, I'm opening that Hershey bar. And I said, I knew if I didn't get out of the way, I was going to get hurt, okay? But I said, I talk about this. I know what I'm doing. Listen to me. Take a little bit of sugar, take a little bit of progesterone, and all of a sudden it'll go away. The craving for the chocolate goes away. And she said to me, all right, I'll try it. You see, when a man has a craving for chocolate, it's usually due to low magnesium. When a woman has a craving for chocolate, it's a life or death situation. If you, and I say this jokingly, but not really, okay? Because it's a life or death situation. Why? How can I say that and honestly explain it? If you look at what happens when a woman is progesterone deficient, estrogen dominant, okay? The estrogen being dominant causes the yeast in her body, in her colon, to flourish. As that flourishes, it takes away the glucose from the blood. So just like a person who's diabetic that doesn't have enough sugar, her body feels like she's going into insulin shock. The brain says, I need sugar. The mind says, I want chocolate. Okay? Now, understand something. You get that double Dutch chocolate ice cream sundae in front of you. And if you ate 2 or 3 teaspoons and waited 20 minutes, a half an hour, the craving would go away. The problem is you still have the craving and you still feel empty, so you continue to eat. By the time you finish eating, you have 99% of that double Dutch chocolate sundae that's going to sit there and go into these parts of things, okay, later. So that's one of the problems with the hormones. You have to be able to understand what's going on in your body. To make a long story short with that one, 10 minutes passed and she didn't ask me for the chocolate. 15 minutes passed. At 20 minutes, I took the chocolate and I said, honey, do you still want the chocolate? And she goes, ugh, please, I couldn't even look at that. She had nothing but a little bit of sugar and some progesterone to keep her in balance. That was the difference. DHEA we talked about, and testosterone we already talked about. Let's talk about what are the main symptoms. If we look at men with low sex drive need to increase their hormones, okay, for the most part. Erectile dysfunction, enlarged prostate, weight gain, fatigue, and irritability are all symptoms of low testosterone or low androgens in their body. Women, I want to talk more about the women because we have more women here. Hot flashes. Has anybody here ever had a hot flash? Okay, what is a hot flash? Let's say I said to you today, I'm going to take you, I'm going to put you here, and I'm going to put a big weight on top of your foot. And your friend is outside that door. And you can call to your friend, but your friend doesn't answer. How's the next call going to be? Louder, stronger, frantic, to get him or her to come and help you. Well, there's a call that's being released from the brain to the ovary saying, I need estrogen. Remember, we talked about that in the very beginning. But guess what? You got lazy eggs. And the lazy eggs are making very little estrogen. So therefore, the answer that I'm making estrogen is not being heard. So I'll send another message, and another message, and another message, and another, and another. 50 a day. Think about this, guys. Let's think about walking down the road and all of a sudden someone put a tube and you're at 140 degrees. Well, here it's not that far-fetched, but okay. And then all of a sudden you're at 120 degrees, and then 160 degrees, and then back down to 80, and back up. You would go nuts. You gotta be sensitive to the women that are experiencing these things. But they don't have to live this way. We can get the estrogen back, the right estrogen back, and when we get that estrogen back, all of a sudden the symptoms disappear. The hot flashes disappear. Night sweats is the same exact thing as a hot flash, except because you're laying down, blood is shunted to different parts of the body and you sweat more profusely. Terrible. I've had children that have come up to me and said, I thought mommy peed in the bed. Because, and it sounds funny, but they were serious. All of their bedspreads are soaking wet because of how much water they exudated from the heat. Insomnia. Well, let's talk about that person that's on Valium before. Person's on Valium, we take them off of Valium, they're very irritable. Do you think they're going to sleep well? No. Put them back on Valium and they'll sleep nicely. Put them back on progesterone and they'll sleep nicely. I have some people that come up to us and say, you know, I'm on Prozac because I went to the doctor and the doctor said, you're having menopause, here's Premarin. I came back and said, I still don't feel good. She said, well, you need Prozac. So it's a 1-2 punch, okay? Either you're Premarin or Prozac or more Prozac or whatever. And that's the way it goes. You know what? I say to them, you don't have a Prozac deficiency. You have a progesterone deficiency. And when you replace the progesterone, some of our patients have slowly diminished the amount of Prozac they use. I have people coming up to me and saying, you know, you're a pharmacist, but you're almost advocating the use of non-drugs. Because if I was able to take your system, then I won't need my Xanax anymore, and I won't need my progesterone, and it could be that I don't need all these other things that the doctor's got me on. Yeah, that's true. You could very well not need those medications anymore. But I'm not about selling you medication. I'm about trying to make you healthy. And if you have these deficiencies, you need to replace them only with the bioidentical. Forget the synthetics. Synthetics are the devil, as far as I'm concerned, okay? Because all they do is wreak havoc on your whole system. Osteoporosis. Here's my little sign again. And I told everybody, I said, you know, I am not a painter. I am not a person who draws or anything like that. These are very, very crude, but they serve a purpose. Right now, if you have osteoporosis or osteopenia, we have good medications, Actonel, Fosamax, Miacalcin, that are known to increase bone density. And they increase bone density, they rave about increasing bone density anywhere between 4 and 6% over a 24 to 36 month period. And if you're constantly losing bone density and all of a sudden you start building it up, that's not a bad deal. That's a pretty good deal. The thing is, though, if you're low on hormones and you get your progesterone level back and you get your estrogen level back, guess what happens? You increase bone density by 18 to 22% over the same period of time. Why? Estrogen has been known, there are 2 different cells inside of the bone. Yeah, this is a bone, okay? Okay, or at least half of one. There are two different cells that are found inside of a bone. One is called an osteoclast, which eats up old bone, and the other one is called an osteoblast that actually makes more new bone. Estrogen slows down the destruction of bone. Progesterone allows the osteoblast to make more bone. So if you're slowing down the consumption and increasing the formation, guess what happens to your bone? They get denser. How? Naturally. Low sex drive in women. It's a problem. It's a problem because it's almost taboo to talk about it. See, a man has erectile dysfunction, and it's a big problem. Women have erectile dysfunction. Nobody knows about it. See, we do have women with erectile dysfunction. The clitoris is very similar to a man's penis, okay? And it works in the same way. The same hormones are needed for it to engorge. The same hormones are needed for a woman to reach orgasm. It's all about the same, okay? Different quantities, different levels, but nevertheless, different amino acids that are needed for the facilitation of these things to happen. But nevertheless, it's just like a man's erectile dysfunction. I had one patient, I'll never forget.